All right, hello everybody. It's your girl Mocaso, and I'm here with our amazing Tanya, who is a 3D artist in the Web3 space. She mints NFTs and has taken the time to help us all learn how to actually make NFTs using Clothes 3D. So this is a three-part series that we'll actually be having. So this is part two of three. Last time we learned all about actually creating our pattern, and this time we will be learning about making the texture that goes onto that pattern. So Tanya, I will let you take it away from here.
Hi guys, so good to see you here. So like Mokas said, the last time we were working on our patterns. Basically, what we did was drawing on our avatar directly and extracting our patterns from there. And our bodysuit ready. I'll just go over some finishing of the garment and then we go on to the fabrics. I don't know if anyone has any questions before or maybe just wait until the end. But anytime, just interrupt me if you have any questions. Okay. So normally we work with high particles in Clo 3D. Normally because it's for fashion industry work, we need like a lot high. We need high definition on the garments. So we have here on our property editor, if you scroll down, there's simulation properties and particle distance. Now this is in millimeters. Everyone can change their distance from millimeters to centimeters to meters, whatever you want. By default it's millimeter. So we have particles at 20, which is the default. I like to finish my garment at 5. Now this can take like a lot resources from your laptop PC, so be careful with those things. Like if you have anything to finish, maybe it's better to do this in the end, because this way you don't need like to simulate too much, which is a simulation that's gonna take more time for your PC to respond. So this is gonna show like really weird the fabric because it needs to be simulated. I like to select everything with Control A and Control H to make it strength. This way the silhouette goes smoother, the simulation goes smoother, and the space bar is what allows you to simulate. So here's it's all simulated and it looks good. Last time we did these two star lines, but maybe we can do a few more just to make it nice, just a little bit, not to go over because we went over on the last session, but just to finish it up. We go again on our edit style line, draw style line. There's 4 options, so you need to click on the option to appear. And what this allows us to do is draw it directly on our garment. I believe this is the easiest way for me visually. You can also do on the pattern like we did last time. I'm just gonna do some continuation of the one in the front, kind of like a corset like. Maybe something like this. So we have some pattern pieces to work with our textures. And I will select everything again and strengthen again and simulate it a little bit more. Now, if your PC, what I'm doing now, I was editing the garments. So before, if you have a PC which is a bit weaker, normally you keep it at 20 particles so it doesn't crash or anything. And keep saving it just in case. Okay. Now we have, you can see on the 2D window, we have these pieces separated. This is allow us to have more freedom on our design. Okay, before fabric, well, before or after, it depends on of your workflow. I like to finish first with finishings and labels. So if you work like in a fashion industry, you need like proper top stitch. What I did proper is, I will show you. So here you have the library. Clo has a lot of resources which are ready for the fashion industry, is totally prepared for everything. And we have a folder called top stitch, and you have all the ISO top stitch, which is what the industry uses to work with their manufacturers. And you can do it manually here on the object browser as well. You have the fabrics, the prints, the buttons, buttonholes, top stitch. We have the same things, but it's just more manually. Basically here, if you want a double sewing line, you already have it here. And overlocker, it's already here. So it's up to you. Sometimes to be quicker, I just prefer going over here. For NFT purpose, I mean, is it optional because of course no one is gonna buy the garment. I mean buy the garment itself for production, because you're getting, it depends. I mean, it depends what you're gonna sell. But normally you share with the client and then they can see the top stitch. But here's optional for NFTs. What I like to do to make it quicker, not make it too heavy on the file, I'll just cut into the edges, and you see when we start working with the fabrics the difference. I'll just select these lines and right mouse click, offset internal line. Normally it depends if it's 5 milliliters or 10 milliliters, which is 1 centimeter. And like you guys work with with other metrics that I don't know how to convert it. And we press OK. When the line is still yellow, you can cut everything at the same time. And right mouse click again, cut and sew. Okay, so our hems are finished. You can do the same here. I'll just clean up the pattern a little bit. This one on the back. Okay, let's show again. Okay, we can go see the fabrics now, so this makes sense. Library also has fabrics, which is a really good base to start off if you have no idea how to make prints or really know what's normal map or everything. You can just start off from the library, which is a great resource. You can hover the mouse in each fabric And you can see there's cotton canvas, horizontal, and then there's all the compositions on the side, and also the draping of the fabric, which helps a lot. And you can also search, like, if you want a leather, just to be quicker, and you have here your options. I can also show you outside resources from below. Please sharing the Okay, I also like to use Adobe Substance. Unfortunately, you need to have an account, which is paid. It's worth it if you work with a lot of materials. I personally love it because there's great resources. You can always do your materials, but if you have it here, it's so much quicker. There's a category for fabrics. Of course, you can use even paper or plastic, whatever, because it's digital fashion. Okay, so yeah, we have all sorts of fabrics here, and basically, if you had a license, you just download it, go back to Clove, and import it. You can just drag. I'll just show it on. I already have it here on my laptop. I'll just drag it, and you would import here on the object browser. To assign fabrics to your pieces, if you want everything, you can do Control A and use this assign to select pattern, which normally is in the last. And you see everything turns into that fabric. It's actually really nice right there. But let's see if we have our own print, like I did with Mocaso. She makes her own tie-and-dye, and she passed me the print, and then we can go quickly with Photoshop. It is optional. I'll just quickly show you could do it. So basically, you, depending on the size you wanna work on the garment, basically you need a wrapper of the print, so you could quickly do. Oh, this is in Portuguese. Okay, there's a size of the image here, and basically you want to have room on the right, on the left, but no, right and top. It depends where you want to start. And you can put percentage, and this way, this is the width. So you want to duplicate it to 200. And this will create you room to duplicate the print and flip it. Now, I'm not gonna I think this is gonna take too much resources on my the stream and everything. Maybe you can watch something quick on YouTube to cover that. But yeah, you can use your own in Photoshop, but I can show you how to do it on Chrome 3D, in Chrome 3D as well. I'm just gonna put my default fabric. Let's do it like our own. Okay, so now it's white. We have here our texture, normal map, and the specific map. Now you can put a normal map from any fabrics you have already here. or if you want to be Jersey. It's probably gonna be Jersey, but some elastic. We can just put one, just to have some nice texture. We can just drag it. The normal mats are normally this type of color, if not aware. Okay, so the texture we had on Photoshop, I'm going to import it here and see how we can use it. So you can see because it's not repeating. That's what we want to do. You can also, if you don't want to, and if the image is big enough, you can just try out your luck with the transformation, putting it, enlarging it with the width or the percentage. You can do 300 here. You see, it's still not enough. Or yes, maybe it works. Yeah. So you could get away with doing this, or we can try and go here. There's open texture editor. She's kind of mini Photoshop of Clo, which is actually nice if you don't like lose much time in going back and forth between softwares. You click here in the texture, and you can add several layers just like in Photoshop. And there's a tile option. When I click that, now this can work and might not work depending on your type of print you have. So once you click tile, we wanna use these arrows and find a middle ground and see if it works. This can take some time. But because our print is actually big enough, and like get away with it. But this is actually a nice option if you have like a logo and you want to do like that type of, like Gucci and Louis Vuitton type of artwork. You can just put nicely one here in the middle, some in the corners, and then just play with the tile, and you don't even know, you don't even need to have Photoshop. So it's really nice. And if you have different layers, you can also put it here and blend it. You can multiply, average, add. You can just play with it. It's fun if you play with it, then you don't need to know exactly what you need to do. This is the fun part, just discovering it. Okay, I'll just close here because our fabric is actually big enough. We can move with this arrow, edit texture, and just move around and get it here nicely. Just to get rid of. Then you can also change direction. Like this. I'm gonna put another texture just to make highlight this piece we have here. Here we have a add button, which you can always add your fabrics. The add button will always create the default one, so it's gonna be empty. If you want the ones in the library, you need to drag it here or double click it and it will appear here. Or if you have it something similar, for example, here we have our normal map, so we want to copy it to be same, but you just want to change texture. So we can just drag the other texture here And let's say we want these pieces to be this fabric. Now I small it. That looks good. Okay. So I cut these bits here because normally you can make your garment look different from the back and the front. So normally, if this is like proper printed, the fabric, normally we have like a more toned down layer underneath. So sometimes I do it on Photoshop with a white layer, or you can go here. You select there's front, back, and side. So you can even change the sides. Normally you don't see the side, but depending on what you're doing. You can actually go here and change opacity, and you can see it tones down the one that is underneath. Now the real garment, because the the piece is turned back inside, this part will actually be the same as the front. So what you can do is duplicate it again. But here, so this one is gonna be, let's call it fabric one double, and this is one single, and this one you want to turn on, use same material as front. We'll go back to the default. You select these two pieces, assign it, and here you can fake the seam turning in, and you're gonna select all the other pieces. And this one. Okay. And so for example, this fabric was actually a glow edition that Mokasa did. So for example, if you wanted to make it like a glow type of garment, there's type of fabric here in the material, and you can use fabric shiny, silk, satin, velvet. There are these ones that say render only. You can only be able to see when you have the actual final rendered image. So you're not going to even see here. You should have that in mind, but depending if you want to like import it as FBX, it's probably not going to show. Well, it's not going to show because it's just a render option. So here, this fabric can put light, and it should light it up a little bit in the render. I'm just gonna change this one for maybe a leather. Okay, let's put leather. I'll just quickly show here on the render. Not going too deep in the render because I still have another session, but just so you can see the difference. If it takes you too much for your PC to run the render, you can also use this quality render on the 3D view, which is a bit dramatic to be honest. So don't mind the too shiny. It's just so for your reference that is shiny, your material basically. It's a nice way to quickly see what's going on, but the actual actual outcome will come in the render here, which you can access here on the top. There's several renders, but it's the first one you want. And you can click here in the middle to start, or here on the first button, interactive. The interactive is you can move it around and it's going to move in the render at the same time. So keep in mind, if you still have work to do, it's gonna consume a lot. So we want, I hope it goes well with the stream on this resolution. And I would like to put the HD resolution and put the transparency, as you can see well. And this should be adding some light. Yeah, I think it's kind of lighting up. And here you can see the texture better. Of course, I put a leather, but I put a normal buffalo jersey. So, my bad. So, I'll just go back and put leather, so it shows better. Just drag it. It's not this one. Hopefully it's not gonna crash. And whenever you do some updates, maybe just refresh it here, because sometimes it doesn't come up. So here we see the pattern is still not showing well. So we can do the same thing with the 2D in the 3D, edit texture, and move it. So you see it did an update here, so I'm gonna refresh it. Yeah, but you can see more or less the material style. So we have all these scenes, but we can try and make it invisible. So let's say here, imagine you want this one piece. You could either match the, which can take really long time, or you can go here, also helps on the print layout. Gonna lay out all your patterns, and this is gonna make you see the layout better and put pieces to pieces. So let's say we want this one and these two pieces to be the same, more or less the same. So because this is not straight, because of the curve of the body, this part, it's not gonna match exactly. You can go back here. I'm just gonna make this as an example, because this one you shouldn't doing this because you're gonna lose the curve, but you can merge the patterns on the right mouse click and merge. Because this is symmetric, it's recognizing the other pattern, otherwise you'll have to select one edge to another edge. But here it's merge, so it's one piece. And another way to make it look, it's not together the pieces. I mean, if it's the illusion that is one piece but it's not. Besides the merge, you can select the sewing lines with the edit sewing, and here you select the sewing line. You have the normal mark. You can actually delete it, and what this does, it doesn't gonna, we're not gonna mark the seam in this case because the print is of course making it a separate and actually see. But if it was the same, it would help you like make it seamless. Just so it looks nice, I'm gonna join them. And I will go back to the other letter. Yeah, and maybe I'll just make it darker. So this one is the substance one. Sometimes it can let you customize it directly here. Some of them are locked. So this one is actually customized, so we can play with it and change the color. Or you can use the pick a color where you already have it. Let's make maybe a blue from this print. Now because it has different fabrics, it looks different. And you may need to go manually to the color.
Pretty.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we have one example here. So I was talking about the top stitch, which you can access from Object Browser and again from the library. I was just gonna quickly show. So let's do maybe a single chain stitch. You can drag it here, and with this segment top stitch on the 2D window, the segment works in between points. So here it's recognizing because it's between 2 points. If you have more than 1 point, but you want, for example, this one, you want to join all this piece with another one, but with the segment tool, which will do the same thing with the sewing, the same. So you would have to go like this and like this, which is not good for a top stitch because you can see crossing it. So you don't want this. You can use a free top stitch, which allow you to go beyond the segments. And here it's stitched nicely on the curve. And you can zoom in here and see what it's doing. I think it looks good, top stitch there. We can do around here as well. And on the back here, because I'm gonna switch to top stitch to segment to be quicker, because there's no points here. And I'm gonna move the fabric like this. Okay. We can do a stitching here. Here I'm gonna go with the free top stitch like this, and one more here. And I like to do the hems with some thickness. So let's select the part we want and go over to property editor and do on the rendering, add thickness rendering. We want to put -1 as it's supposed to be stitch and turn over. So you can see there's a little bit more thickness to it. More wheel. You can do the same here. Can I select on the 3D window or here directly? You can drag it the box around. Be quicker and 1. Okay, and some top stitch here too. With top stitch for this one and this one. Okay. Now let's go on the adding a label. I'm gonna put this more close together so we can see, because these one they are separate. If you want a label in the middle, you actually need to find a good way, depending what you want to do with the label. If you want one right in the middle, you're gonna have to put symmetrically on each side, or you can disable the linked editing, make it easier. So here we did it last time, we did it quickly a rectangle. You can access here. Normally there's a polygon by default, but if you click it, there's rectangle, ellipse, spiral. So we did with a rectangle. You can drag it, draw it directly, or if you want your measurements, you can click and put your measurements. I'll just put a quick label just to show. I'm just gonna drag it. There's a print tab here. You can drag it here, or you can search here from in the t-shirt icon on the bottom, and you can search your print, and then you can just drag it to your piece, click it, and resize it with the wheel, or you can click on the label and go on the texture. There should be, yeah, it's here, width and height. You can lock it to make it proportional, and yeah, you just do it quickly with the mouse, or if you want, you can just do it like this. I like to do it with the mouse, so it's visually quicker. Okay, so our label should be here somewhere. So imagine if you do a piece, she's gonna like appear out of nowhere, like very randomly in the space. And you can click here on the 2D window if you can find it. Just zoom out and then right mouse click. Well, sorry, you need to show it first. So let's do internal line. So there's the same tool, but instead of a shape, it's internal. It's an internal shape. So the polygon is a free one. You want just 2 lines, one on each side. So this is 18.5. A bit bigger. If you drag the point, you can see the measurement changing. And now because I'm doing alterations and the fabric's already high poly, it's getting slow. So that's what I was telling you before. Try to make these details before, but for purpose of the video, just do it like that. And let's copy to the other side the line, more or less like this. And you can always adjust it later. Okay, so normally you would think that you would sew this one to this one, but because it's on the inside, we're going to do it the reverse, like this. And you'll see we click here, select it here, right mouse click, and superimpose under, and it will go there directly. It's much easier than drag it and go around. If you're not familiar with the 3D view, can be quite confusing, so this helps a lot. So because this is on the inside, to make simulation easier, let's go to simulation properties and put -1 layer on the layer. Then have several numbers. So if you have a jacket on top, it would be a layer 1. If it has 2 layers of jacket, it will be layer 1, layer 2, and so on. You can also do minus. So basically here it's going to be your 0, layer 0. You have details on the inside, it can be -1, -2 if it's on top of the -1, and so on. Okay, so let's quick simulate the layer. So we see, oh, it's too big. You can either space out the lines or make the label smaller. Then you have to rearrange the print and simulate again. Like this, and now move the label here. Okay, so this is gonna show up this whenever you do a function, the color is gonna show, but it's not your final color, so don't worry. Yeah, we have one colorway. Maybe we can do, I'll just quickly show the colorways. You can have different styles with the same garment. You can go in the editor and colorway, and you see how the first one here, and you click the plus button. It will basically duplicate what you already have, but you can change it. So let's say you want this fabric with a different color. Like this. And we go update, and you start updating with your work. And this, and you can even overlay a color when you already have a texture. Now because this one is a bit darker, maybe it's not gonna work so well. So you can see, you make a red on top. It changes a little bit. And yeah, this is more or less a quick overview of the colorways. Maybe we can go over on more detail on the next video. I think the next one we can go over the renders and maybe some questions you guys have. It will be nicer to have the questions and go over on the details better. We like it.
Yay, thank you so much for sharing everything, Tanya. I love this color wave, how you have the tie-dye in the middle, and you showed us how easy it is to duplicate it and kind of create additions from there. This was such an amazing presentation and so much easier than like it you think. I think that's what I really love about all of this, like digital fashion and metaverse stuff. It seems so like, oh my gosh, how would I ever be able to do that? But you literally made it look so easy. Like, I'm excited to go and keep at my bodysuit and actually like now add some colors and textures and finish like the whole thing. And anybody that's watching, get to it. And like she said, we'll be back for one last session next Friday at the same time, where you can ask any questions that you have, and we'll be talking more about rendering and just anything that you have to ask about using Code 3D and in order to get it done. So thank you so much again for sharing, Tanya. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and stay on the lookout, because this is just the beginning of a lot of other stuff we have in store, like NFTs and more things. So stay tuned for sure.